Welcome everybody to the Creed of Crypto live stream. My name is Broke Boy Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We've got a big show here for you tonight. We are talking about, once again, some people are annoyed by it. Some people don't believe in it. Some people still think it's a scam meme coin, but we're still going to be talking about Pedi. Santa Claus, yes, Santa Claus, as well as maybe Jesus too. I don't know. And also Pedi and the potential pegging and all different angles of it. And also, are you getting shook out here with the bull market volatility? Because, you come to the bull market and you think, man, it's just going to be sunshine and rainbows now. I lived through hell over the last 3 years. Everything's going to be smooth sailing. There's still some crazy volatility, and we've seen people, look pretty shaken out, including Rand. I mean, I think he was doing it for clicks the other day, but about, it's all over and the crypto market's going down and things like that. I mean, people do get shaken out even in the bull market dip. So we're going to get into that because the volatility is going to be crazy. Welcome into all of you, Valiant Low Key, The Rat, Viper Styles, D-Gen Moon Boy, and all the rest. Thank you, Jake, for producing the show in the background. Hit us up in the chat tonight. Like the video on the way in. Peg it hard. Support the channel. We appreciate you guys being here. We do have a poll question for you tonight. Let me actually re-enter the stream to Christ. Hold on, sorry. Too much volume. Should Pedi pay? Now, this is a good question. And Ewok posed this earlier today. I've heard other people talk about it. We're going to get into it tonight. But should Pedi do the peg to $1 quickly to get the chain growing faster, or slowly to kind of capitalize on the end of the bull market? And here are your options. So the question is, should Pedi peg quickly or slowly over time? Quick, it gets the chain growing faster, is leading so far with, or no, it's not. Well, now it is. It's going back and forth. 43% of the vote. The option to do it slowly and capitalize at the end of the bull market is now at 43%. They're both tied. And then 14% still say Pedi is a pointless meme coin. So I figured I would throw that in there as well, just to take the temperature of the room. And it turns out it's still a little bit chilly for some folks. They have hard nips right now, but that's where we are. We're going to get into that and a lot more. There is so much going on in the world of crypto right now. December the 11th, 2 weeks away from Christmas here. And Ewok, how you feeling this beautiful holiday season Wednesday?
Oh man, things are good. Things are really good. Everything looking healthy. Again, it's just a repeat of, we're here. The bull market has started. Everything is in good shape. I think things are moving in the right direction, seeing the normal pullbacks, which are healthy, just all kind of just good signs all around. And then, you've got the community still just out there, man. Like, it's so active. It's crazy when you hear outside people that are coming in. I don't know if you was that what's his name, Shill Gates or something like that.
Oh,
was
yeah.
one of the newest bigger voices that we've seen enter the community, and just be so impressed with the people that are reaching out for help, the people that he's been talking to, and they comment on how active and how maniacal we are. It's crazy. So, there are going to be more people that see that. There are going to be people that, once these green candles really start to get going, they're going to be they're watching. They're watching, even if they're telling everyone that Richard Hart's a scammer or whatever they may be saying in the background. They're watching, and that's very clear. So yeah, we're in great position. I think things are just, next year is just going to be amazing for many of us.
Yes, I am feeling the same way. As long as you don't get shaken out, of course, with some of these dips and how quickly things can turn on a dime narrative-wise. I mean, we did see, over Thanksgiving, all the positive inflows of Pedi stuff and like news confirmations, or so we thought, and then things not going that way, and everybody coming out to victory lap Pedi and stuff like that. And things just go back and forth. So we're going to get into that. There's no point getting into it now. But let's start off with Bitcoin and ETH right now, just where we are. We are seeing Bitcoin pump today. Because my throat stopped with the Kermit thing here, but we're up over 101K right now for BTC, 101,288. Ethereum is tagging behind, although a little bit slowly still at about 3850, still not where it needs to be ratio wise with BTC, but we have seen it start to move up a little bit. Cool to see Bitcoin over 100K again, though. Either way, anytime you see it back in six figures here in 2024, it's pretty awesome. It did hit 100. You know what's so funny, man? I can't even believe this. It was actually after we got off the air last week.
Yeah, it
Hit
was.
100. Yeah, for the first time was 100K. I can't even believe that. That seems like it's been weeks to me. I swear to God that it's been at 100K.
Well, I got worried because on the stream last week we were talking about it. My comment was, I think we're going to have a hard time getting through it. And then right after the stream, not long after, within an hour or two, it broke through. It went the whole way up to 104, and then there was some pretty good sell pressure, and it like smacked it right down to earth. So I was like, whew, I wasn't all that wrong. I was just off by a little bit. So again, we are seeing that. These levels are critical. They're it's a sentimental thing with this 100,000. It creeps up, and then it gets smacked back down. And I do think we could see a little continued consolidation in this range for a little bit of time. I think it's going to take some time to play out. And I wouldn't even be surprised to see a drop back into these 85, 82 area, because there's, again, these candles that went from essentially 73,000 up to this level right here, about 85,000. There's nothing in between but green candles. So, don't be surprised. I'm not saying it's going to, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a pullback, because when things start to take off, you get a lot of people that are placing long. They're placing their longs. If there is any kind of liquidation event, that cascades, right? And I think that's what kind of caused this one, is it got up there and it created liquidations. Whether people had some shorts in at this point or not, at the 100,000 level, it triggered whatever it triggered, and now people may be going long. And if it does pull back a little, you could see some longs getting annihilated. So they'll be liquidated, and it'll fall pretty hard, just because, again, there's not a whole lot of support in this area. Not much happened, but again, the longer we bounce back and forth, it will build the support that eventually it needs. So once it does break through, it'll come back down and use that then as support. So I think that's what's happening. I think you're going to see this consolidation area, accumulation, whatever you want to call it, for a bit of time, until things really get going, maybe beginning of January or so. So
yeah,
that's my thoughts on Bitcoin anyway. Let's take a look at this ratio here. With the Ethereum, because I know we are having a little run on that too. It's almost back up to the 0.04. We're at 0.0396 now. So that margin, that ratio is definitely growing pretty nicely. So
yeah, it is coming up a bit. I think it was at 0.04 the other day, now just bouncing around down below it. So not like huge strength against Bitcoin for Ethereum yet, but it is encouraging that we are seeing an uptick. I know the others/BTC chart has started to come back, which is basically the altcoin index, what it used to be. So we are seeing those things happen. There's been tons of people that are just like all in on Bitcoin right now, that are seeming like they're kind of marking the top of the Bitcoin dominance. We're starting to see that come down. Really right on schedule. I mean, we're here in December in the Bitcoin halving year, getting ready to go into 2025 for the big bull run. I think it's all pretty much right on time. And then I don't want to get deep into this, because really doesn't matter much anymore, but we had CPI data came out today in the US, which had inflation at 2.7%. I think it was today, maybe it was yesterday, I don't know, which was higher than they expected. Nobody really cares anymore at this point. They're going to be printing money either way. And I did forget, FOMC is actually next week. So December the 17th and 18th. I don't even know what the likelihood of anything is. I imagine they're probably looking at cutting rates by 25 points again or something like that. But either way, this inflation stuff, I mean, we all know how the game goes. I mean, they're kicking the can down the road. It's never something that they're going to resolve, and we're going to get money printing, and that's regardless of who is in office. So I don't know if you have any points on any of that, and maybe just how we could see. I mean, I was going to say how Bitcoin could look the rest of the year here. That's only 3 weeks. So, I mean, what do you think about these kind of?
Well, yeah, I think that's what the plan is, right? I think it's still 25 basis points to lower it. I haven't heard anything other than that. I haven't really looked into it again because of the health of the market, the change in changing of the guards and things like that. Everyone just appears to be more bullish. So, it hasn't really been. I mean, I'm sure it'll affect it, but we haven't really seen the effects of it at all very much. So,
Right.
yeah, I haven't even looked into it.
Yeah, we will see. But I mean, we're at the point, again, it's a bull market. All those kind of news pieces and the FOMCs and stuff like that, people are just not going to be paying as much attention to. So I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see what Bitcoin can do at this 100K level, see if we do bust out of this, because, you get the feeling that like once it starts running, when it's over 100K, I mean, it could go far, like maybe farther than any of us expect. And then if it turns that into resistance, it's like, how long are we going to stay here then? So either way, definitely looking good right now in a little bit of a chill out zone. Turning to the PulseChain ecosystem right now, we have been moving up here with the rest of the market, looking pretty good lately, moving up on ETH as well. We have Pulse at 4 zeros and an 8, Pulse X at 4 zeros and a 535. Incentive is at $3.52. We got Hex at 2.8 cents and eHex at a little bit more than half a penny. And eHex has been running harder than really anything here lately over the last few days. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. But yeah, where do you want to kind of start with this ecosystem? Maybe we could just, as we normally do, look at the pulse chart and see where we're at. But things consolidating in a really nice range here. A lot of the charts, if you look at them individually, are set up to, look mega bullish here over the next few months. Where do you want to start here within PulseChain?
Yeah, let me go over to the charts here. Just take a look at PulseChain. This is what do I have on? Oh, the monthly. Well, let's take a look at the monthly. Almost like a little cup and handle here forming. Yeah, a nice or a very prominent W. Both are very bullish. So I want to look at the daily though, because it breaks it down a little bit better. Yeah, we've definitely come up some critical levels. This one here at the 0.0008 was a significant level back here in April. It did meet some resistance there, and we finally got back up there and met resistance again. So until we can break through that level, it looks like that is our resistance area at the moment. Again, back here in April as well. So it's looking healthy though. I mean, we've got a nice green candle here, some good volume, actually. Not even a whole lot of volume compared to what it was like here just 3 days ago, and we only got a little candle out of it. So yeah, it's definitely looking healthy. Again, sometimes pullbacks are needed and necessary. So I'd like to see a few more of these stair steppers, a little bit pull back, and again, if we can get through this 8.5, 8.7 area, things will be looking up to the next move, which is probably going to be it doesn't look like much, man, until you hit the between 9.5 and sacrifice level. That will be our next target. Now back here in April, again, beginning of April, this was some resistance before it broke through. So we will need to get through that 9.5 area, which we could see a little bit of resistance before getting through to SAC level. But again, just with the bullishness of everything that's happening, I don't really foresee that being too much of an issue. I think a lot of the people that are lettuce-handed have been shaken out. Now we're just dealing with traders trying to play it. I think there's going to be some bigger buyers that are coming in, and some of those guys are probably going to get left behind, like they always do. So it's been a good period of shaking out the non-believers, I think, and this could run a lot easier. Now, there's a lot of things that are obviously Pulse is a lot heavier because I think there are so many liquidity pairs tied to it. Just about everything has a Pulse pair. So,
Hmm.
you know, when other things move, it's going to help pull it up with it. And vice versa. When this one moves, it's going to pull a lot of things along for the ride. So yeah, Pulse is looking good. I'm assuming Pulse X is in a very similar structure here. Yep, looking good there.
Looking really good. Yeah.
Again, you know, it's nice to see these little pullbacks, and
Hmm.
you know, we just keep stair stepping, and it looks so good. And I think
That one
incentive
looks
is
by design. I mean, that looks almost too good. Yeah, definitely very
for
bullish.
Pulse X. Yeah,
Yeah. Looks amazing.
Well, they both look similar. You know, when you compare the two, they're very similar in structure. I just had it,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, they're very similar. For incentive, what is this? 1 second chart. Who was looking at 1 second?
There you go.
Again, it's not as defined. It's a little heavier though. You know, when you get up to $3.50, you know, it becomes pennies instead of fractions of pennies. So this will probably move a little bit slower. However, you know, seeing the same formation, stare up, pull back, stare up, pull back, stare up, pull back. I think we get another one here. We could be in the $4 to $5 range here pretty soon. That looks like our next $4.50 to $5 could be our next area of some a little resistance anyway.
Yeah, and then I know it's not really that far off until you get to the $8 mark or something like that for ink. So yeah, it can definitely start taking off out of nowhere. I was really interested if you could pull up EHEX because you know everybody's favorite token. The other day, Richard tweeted simply, "This is just insane to me, like how much his tweets seem to matter, especially for EHEX." But you know, it's not as if he said like, "Hey." You guys all misinterpreted my tweet, although he has said that before, but you misinterpreted me months ago. There's definitely some value still in EHEX, and they should be at parity. I mean, it's not like he said anything like that, but he simply had the observation. And this is just a side point I didn't even know if we would get to, but I do find it really interesting that MetaMask, or yeah, that was MetaMask,
Yeah.
tweeted, yeah, I mean, using their, you know, you shouldn't use this, but their swap tool, that Hex was one of the top 5 tokens that was used in their swap tool, which I mean, you pay like ridiculous fees. I've never used it or anything, but you definitely don't want to be doing the MetaMask swap feature. It's a lot of fees, but yeah, that they had that in their top 5 as far as transactions. Richard retweeted that fact, and I forget his exact words. I don't think I bookmarked that one, but I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. Like he just simply kind of just acknowledged it, and you know, as you should. I mean, anytime you're going to get free advertising for one of your tokens out there, why not take advantage of it? And this is part of one of the things, and I know many people like don't agree with it or don't understand what I'm trying to say, but just the fact that MetaMask did that, okay, kind of shows you the argument for people that have been talking about how, you know, EHEX isn't going to go away. Not that it has to hit parity or anything like that, but that mind share on Ethereum is still there. And people still are going to look at that chart and people are still going to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
MetaMask being one of them right there. I mean, that's a useful tool on another chain that is good to have there still, I believe. So yeah, it was good to see that the MetaMask setup, but also Rich's tweet. And we saw EHEX make a big move and then move back down, which you can tell us why that happened as well, Ewok. But yeah, what do you make of MetaMask doing that, Rich's retweet, and just kind of where the price action is for EHEX right now?
Well, yeah, I think that tweet was on the 8th or maybe the 7th or 8th, whatever it was. And then what do you see here? This big green candle, you know, from basically 0.0052 all the way up to 0.0067. And then our friends over at BankX come along and knock it right back down. So, but the good thing is these guys are slowly working their way out of this chain. So I think I am going to share it. Well, let's finish looking at the chart first. But yeah, I mean, you've had some solid movements from the end of November, basically the 27th here. If you're just looking at these couple candles, let's take a look at this. Just the movement alone in 3 days, it was 104%. So it essentially doubled, you know, in 3 days. not unheard of in Hex, and especially when there isn't a whole lot of liquidity right now for the simple reason of the Bank X sell walls, and we know they're unloading tokens. So, people aren't willing to really put their funds in there, which I can't blame them until they're out. And I have a feeling once they're out and gone, this whole ecosystem over here is going to change. As for the MetaMask swap feature, again, please don't use it. They're going to chew you up with extra fees. So, even them being in the top 5, they've capitalized in a lot of fees that could have gone to the users for more coins had they just known to use CalSwap or ETHEX.com, or even for that matter, going over to PulseChain and buying the tokens over there for pennies, right? You can use PulseX and bridge your Ethereum over, or whatever, USDC, and swap for the EHEX over there if you really want it. Again, I'm not recommending any of those to you. I'm just recommending that you don't do it on the MetaMask feature. So, but yeah, I mean, this is looking extremely good for the past, let's measure even just from the beginning of November to where we are today, and you're up 232% basically. So
yeah,
it's essentially tripled. So yeah, this is looking really good over here. Let's take a look at this BankX thing, because I know it piques a lot of people's interest here. It looks like, and they have been selling. So if you look at some of the transactions that have happened, you say scam, scam, scam.
yeah.
But if you go back into 3 hours, 10 minutes ago, 1 million, 3 hours, 19, 1 million. So each one of these cells are for 1 million. They're getting about $5,400 in DAI for each one of these. 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sure there's more. And that goes just back to 5 hours. So essentially, they have gotten down to 86 million that they have left. Now, remember, they were at actually, they had 840 million tokens, I believe, at one point. And they've chopped that considerably. Now, this is all that they have left on the ETH side. I do believe they still have 299 million, 300 million essentially, that is bridged over on PulseChain. Whether they have removed, I don't see any liquidity because their liquidity pools are not showing here. They have some sort of island farm going on here. I don't know what that's worth, but yeah. So I mean, they've chopped it in half essentially.
Yep.
And if we continue to hold these prices, I think they're going to be more motivated to just sell and get out and not provide liquidity. And that's a good thing. So yeah, things are looking really good on that front. They sold, I had it written down here. They dumped 22 million, and this was earlier, actually 2 days ago, I think, when that post was made, that they had dumped 22 million this month already and only dumped 16 million in the whole month of November. So they've definitely increased their strategy or their time frame to get out of this. So that has been sped up. And yeah, I think you're going to see some major moves forward whenever these guys finally get out of their position. And right now it's about $2 million if you just take the USD value on chain. Now, obviously, as they sell, that's going to drop the price. So it's not going to take 2 million to get them out. It'll probably take considerably less than that. But as of right now, it's looking like there's about $2 million there that needs to flow their way, and they can be gone forever.
Yes, and it's very. I mean, we're all happy, obviously, to see them exiting the ecosystem. It's been a long time coming, and it's still good. I mean, like, even though maybe they're increasing their sells right now. I mean, it's good that it's still happening towards the lows. I mean, we're still down here. You know, it's better now than later. I mean, we've talked about that many times before, and they are about, like you said, halfway out. So
Yeah.
obviously, this whole thing has gone. You know, people seem to like blame them a lot or be fearful of them or whatever. This hasn't gone according to their plan whatsoever. I mean, you
No.
remember like they had all these other sell walls and stuff. Then comes the Richard Hart like death tweet, which I mean, hey, you could say maybe has to do with Bank X possibly,
Maybe.
you know,
Maybe.
and he sends it down and then they're like, shit, we just got caught with our pants down. What do we do now? Like now,
Yeah.
now all these sell walls are gone and we're
Yep.
selling for pennies on the dollar,
Yep.
you know?
And they're really not hurting it. You know, yes, there are some series of red candles that did pull it down. But in the grand scheme of things, they're not hurting the price that badly. And I think what happens is whenever they do buy it down, somebody buys it up and they sell it again. So, you know, it hasn't been too dreadful. I mean, obviously, this sell wall here was the tweet. But since then, they have been managing to get out and not terribly kill the price too bad. So
Mhm.
I'm happy with the way things are going and at the rate that they're going. Again, with the amount of sell pressure that we're seeing right now at this period when people know this is the time you hold, I'm quite pleased with how this chart still looks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's erased half the move of the death tweet, as you can see there. It's pretty clear where the death tweet is if you're looking at the chart here. But yeah, it's very encouraging to see. And I tell you what, off of that point, unless you had any final thoughts on like the BankX thing, if you want to just even zoom out more on the EHEX tweet or the EHEX chart, I am curious because our main topic tonight was kind of like the bull market volatility and how people think like, oh, it's the bull market, it's all smooth sailing from here. And while it is, you know, on the whole, definitely easier for your mind to take what the prices are doing right now, we're going to see like monumental pumps up that crash back down after you have maybe attained, or on paper, you have attained levels of wealth that you never thought possible or
Yeah.
only dreamed of and things like that. And obviously, I think using the EHEX chart from last cycle, 2020 and 2021, is very handy in illustrating that. And you, Ewok, as somebody who's been around multiple cycles, has seen, you know, BitConnect, you know, from BitConnect to whatever else, can speak a little bit to that volatility. Because if you think right now, it's just like, oh, it's pulling back, there's some narrative changes, I don't feel as confident or whatever. Yeah, what about if you do, let's say, even 10x your portfolio from here, which for many people will probably be more money than they've ever seen in their lives, and then it draws down 80%. What do you do then? Do you think it's over? Did you sell a little bit at the top of that leg? What do you do? So yeah, I'd like your opinion on that. We can use the CHEX chart to illustrate it.
Well, so let's go back to, I want to kind of get all this in the grand scheme of things because I guess, well, that's as close to the top as we can get. I mean, it's not showing it because I don't think this market captured the actual 54 cent, whatever it was. I think it topped out here at 51 or 52 cents, but that's close enough. But as you can see, as this went up, and you mentioned it yourself, let's take a look at how many times it dropped 70% right there. And it
And
dropped
when's that? When was that? Did you see what month that was? I'm just curious, like how deep into things that was. Was that the end of
70%
2020?
there. This was in, yes, well, this was in July of 2020. So
Okay.
this candle, this series of candles was God Whale. In case no one's familiar with it, that was back in April. That was right during COVID. I think Ski Cat, God Whale, there were several buyers, big buyers in here, in this area. And the price basically went from 3 zeros and a 5 all the way up to 2 zeros and a 6. So it 10x'd
Yeah.
in just these, like, this week.
Wow.
I guess it was from April 17th to May 5th. So yeah, 2 weeks essentially. It 10x'd in 2 weeks. And then again, as I said, there was an immediate 45% dip. Okay. And then it went up again and it pulled back 47%. Okay. And then it went up again up to, the back up to the 006. And I think this was the 50%er. And then it continued up here and it pulled back 70%. I believe on this one was 84% on that wick.
Man,
it leveled out at 78%. So, I mean, it went back up to a penny. I think right in here, January. Yep, New Year's was the first time it hit a penny. New Year's Eve. Hexo was doing his 24-hour stream or whatever it was. And I think Steph was one of the big sellers that night. And from there, it dipped another 56%. So if you're getting any kind of flashbacks, I'm sorry. But it just goes to show you, yeah, I mean, how many times and then it crept up again, but back up to 1.5 cents, pulled back down another 50%. And then we made this nice big climb up here, got up to 2 cents. So that doubled, but then 40%, right? And then here's another big one. So this climb all the way up to here, another 47%. So as many times as it went up, I think Richard has a chart of every rise and fall. So how many percent it went over, how many X's it made, and then the percent of decrease. How many X's it made, decrease. It did it, we can count like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just count all of that as 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times before it worked its way up to the top area. And each one was anywhere between 35 and 85%. So that's what's possible in these markets where people are taking money off the top and it just continues to keep running. So prepare yourself for that, right? I think so. The one big difference that we have now than we had then was this was our only thing happening.
right.
Although it was a much smaller, tighter group of people. So, yes, there were less people, less things to work on. Now there are more people and more coins that are all tied together. So I think we're going to see some still crazy dips along the way. But don't get too excited that it's over too quickly. At the same time, don't be afraid to take a little off the top as it does go up. And you see some of these levels where it looks like it's really, really running. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you happen to think this is a crazy run. For example, let's just take this one. You get up to here and you see this one little red candle in the middle and think, oh, it's going to drop. I should probably take a little off the top. And then it just continues to go, right? But it never came back to that level. Don't be afraid. Again, don't sell your whole bag at a level like this, but take a little off, whether you want to take 5%, 10%, something, so that you can catch some profits on the way up. Again, I don't ever recommend anybody fully exit a position. You always want to have moon bags just because you never know when it's going to stop. At the same time, you've got to take a little off the table and cash in some profits. So yeah, just be prepared. Again, you're going to see these massive wicks, massive pullbacks. But you can see how healthy it is too, because, as it goes up, that's what allowed it to get this high, where all the sells back here, where a lot of people didn't have a whole lot of ammo left as it continued to go up. Now, again, there were a bunch up here that finally decided, and that just triggered, obviously it didn't have it. It tried to come back up, but it just didn't have it left. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
You make great points, though. I mean, it's like you need to play the market as it is there to be played rather than trying to hope for one thing to happen or go against the grain or something like that. I mean, you are right. I mean, like you see all the stair stepping there 11 different times that we saw just a crazy run up and a big dip back down. I think it's great perspective. And you make a good point, too. I mean, like we do have more coins to worry about now. We're talking about a whole ecosystem, a whole layer one blockchain. It probably isn't going to look exactly like this. But this is just kind of a consolation that, like, are you going to, we've said this for a long time. You're not going to sell the top. You're not going to know the nut top. You're not going to sell it on that day, maybe even on that week or anything like that. Maybe you will as a part of your DCAing out of the market or something. But this is why we don't need to get into this argument again, but this is why I am a fan of looking at kind of overall market sentiment rather than just, looking at that EHEX chart or looking at the one that we're going to have now, this bull market with Pulse X, Hex, whatever, and just selling based on that. It's just to keep your head on a swivel. And I think a good barometer too is like you are you. You're not a robot, unfortunately. I mean, maybe we all will be. Have some AI integration here now and Neuralink and all that stuff here soon. But you need to be able to sleep at night. And if we get to a point where it's like, if I don't take whatever it is, 5-10% off the top or something like that, and let the rest of this ride, I'm never going to be able to live with myself if this all comes back down. So there is no exact strategy, but this is just like a way to see that we are going to see this volatility along the way. And obviously, Ewok and I are both of the opinion that for the better part of the next 11 to 12 months, we're going to see a lot of up, obviously. So it's just when do you want to de-risk a little bit along the way? That's really about it. So good stuff. Yeah, appreciate that walk down memory lane. Good stuff there from the Hex chart for sure. We're gonna continue on with some Pedi stuff here. If you guys are here and enjoying the stream so far, 100 of you at least are at the moment. Hit the like, peg the like button. We appreciate you guys being here. Help support Real DeFi. Shout out Chad Viper Styles, Digital Money Markets. Actually, I liked one of your questions. We're gonna answer it here in a moment. Hex Girl, Red Squirrel, that rhymed. That's cool. A lot of other people here. So welcome in, everybody. I hope you enjoy the show so far. So let's kind of just look at what is going on. Oh, let me look at the poll, actually. I wanted to do that. So the poll question again is, should a Pedi peg quickly to $1 or slowly over time? 52% of the vote and leading the way. Interestingly, is quick, get the chain to grow faster. In second place at 35% is slow, capitalize on the end of the bull market. And finally, at 12%, Pedi is a pointless meme coin. So a little bit of that still out there. Let's recap what's been going on with Pedi over the last week. There's almost too much to get into, and the news, whether it really was ever news or just mistakes at reading the blockchain or whatever it may be. Just to do a real quick recap is what I'm going to do. And frankly, you could have missed all of this and paid no attention at all. Actually, you could be not even a believer in Pedi and be totally ignoring it completely, and really none of this even affects you if you don't want to. I mean, if you're invested in the ecosystem and this narrative happens to be true and what many people think is happening is eventually going to happen, all that happens is you all benefit infinitely, maybe not infinitely, but a lot more maybe than if this wasn't happening. So it doesn't really matter. You don't have to buy Pedi. You don't even have to pay attention to any of this stuff. But I find it highly interesting. And, we've used the term crypto or DeFi utopia on this show before about like what Richard may be trying to create on PulseChain. And it would be a beautiful thing. So the wallet that's been suspected to be Richard Ment's 36.9 Maker tokens from the main wallet last week. It voted yes on the open poll to collateralize Pedi on like the big overall poll that everybody was voting on. On that vote, it commented just "Milady" simply, and there was all this stuff out there like substantiating like that was Richard Hard, blah 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 blah. We saw that happen, and then literally like a day later, allegedly the executive, I'll fix the camera in a second here. Allegedly, the executive vote went through, pushing the whole plan to collateralize Pedi through, supposedly. That's not what ended up happening. That wasn't actually true. So it wasn't collateralized, or excuse me, it wasn't actually voted on executively anyway. There was a mistake on the blockchain. People are spamming it and things like that. And some of those guys that read it, like 9 Iron Capital and Decentralized Me admittedly made a mistake. So that happens. Of course, everybody comes out of the woodwork to victory lap Pedi and, oh, it's always been a scam. What are you guys doing? This is bull crap. You know, look, these guys are screwing up on chain. And admittedly, it isn't a great look. I mean, you know, when you're out there feeling like you're confidently reading stuff on the blockchain and then you get thrown off like this, and then it's like, well, wait a minute. No, he did vote on the regular poll, but it's not the executive poll. Blah, 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 and you just keep going back and forth every day, and it seems schizo. So I understand the look. That said, there are people out there that want to believe in extreme that this is just a fake narrative that nobody ever should have been paying attention to. And I simply don't agree with that whatsoever. But there are people out there that are going to want to push that and victory lap what they feel like they are correct about. So there's that. Let's see. So essentially, I'm just kind of looking at the notes. What the hell? This is using my wrong camera. I'll fix this shit in a second. Yeah, so I mean, I'm at a point where I'm 90% level of confirmation that that was Richard Hart that voted on the actual poll. And the thing to me, and I want to bring this point up to you, Ewok, and then I'll fix this goddamn camera, is I want your opinion on this. This is something Sami's been saying. I saw Decentralized Me's been saying it as well. For this to go on this long and for Pedi to be such talked about and, you know, one of the biggest narratives on PulseChain, if you read into this stuff, for Richard to not denounce this emphatically over the last year and a half at any point, not only not denounce it, but kind of shill it basically and show the chart, not telling anybody to buy Pedi. No, I don't think he ever even quoted that it was Pedi or anything. He just has shown the chart in the past, say, hey, ETH bros, like there's some coins over here that have already done a 5,000x. You should check it out. Things like that when he's obviously talking about Pedi. I mean, for him to not denounce it when all these people are out there making this content, potentially getting themselves wrecked, quote unquote, on it, and the fact that Pedi has overtaken a couple of his own tokens in market cap already. I don't see how Richard would allow that to go on. So what do you make of some of the drama that kind of has happened with this stuff over the last week? I know you had some thoughts on like the on-chain reading by some people and stuff like that. And then also just the fact that Richard's never denounced this or anything. I mean, it seems like a leading indicator to me.
Well, the fact that he's never denounced it, yeah, we have to remember Richard created a entire chain. That'd be like Vitalik coming out and saying, hey, that's not me. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to compare that. Is he going to say anything? You know, I guess because people are using his name and he knows that. He knows people are pointing in his direction. There's been a lot of videos like way back, but while this stuff was being created, about how to do it. And, you know, he had said at one point it's on the list of things to do. And, you know, he wanted to check some of the other protocols, things like that, whatever. So we know he had been thinking about doing it. So there's that. So you've got the other side of things where I believe that Richard has always taught delayed gratification. He's always shown that he's pretty good at shaking people out. For this reason, I don't think we want to see an immediate peg, because we know that there are people that are only buying in to multiply money. They're not doing it in support of the system, to support the whole ecosystem once it does peg, to move things into other things that are on chain, right? We know there are people that are here just to capitalize on some X's. That for that reason alone, I don't want to see an immediate peg. I don't, not that I even think it's still early to do that, because I believe you still need an oracle, which I don't think we have. The MakerDAO has to connect to an oracle to know how much to collateralize. When are these things going to go into sell mode? When are they going to go into collateral liquidate mode, where things get burnt and tokens get sold to make up for the difference? You need a bunch of bots that are buying and selling the price up and down as it goes up, and you know what I mean. So there's a lot of things that I don't think are in place quite yet. So I think that if you're going to let it happen, you've got to let it happen natively and organically. I don't think you want to just peg it overnight. I think that's a bad decision. You're going to get the Jeters to go out, maybe take it to 10 cents and see what happens. If you're going to do something like that, I think you would do it in steps. I don't think you would just peg it. Then the question arises is, do you think it's in Richard's best interest to just throw all OA, sacrifice money at this thing and hope it works? I think that's a risky play too. Now, I know, there's still confusion, and I still have some small doubts, but I'm not going to miss out, obviously, on the chance to be a part of it. So, but I do still have some doubts. You've got this whole Maria Atropa thing happening. So is it Maria that's doing all this, or is it Richard that's doing all? Because I hear so many different things, right? You hear all these, how all the Atropa, the teddy bear, the BFF, all these different things are tied into this, but that's Maria. Like, are Maria and Richard working together? So I still have a lot of questions that aren't fully answered. Doesn't mean I don't believe it could happen, because I have changed my stance on that. I think it's possible. I think it could get to $1. I'm still concerned about a peg, because again, you need these mechanisms in place. You need an Oracle system. You need the MakerDAO contract working the way that it does on Ethereum side in order to maintain that peg. So yeah, I'm still up in the air about 10-15% of not sure how things are going to work out. I haven't gone down some of these major rabbit holes like a lot of these other guys that's what seems to be all they spend their time on. But again, Richard's in a rough spot. Viper Styles just said it. The whole thing with the SEC going on could be another reason why he hasn't even mentioned it. The court doesn't mention anything about Pedi at all. So why bring it up now? Why get anything else involved with a Richard type thing of them saying, well, look, he's just creating money out of thin air, But I tend to think the one thing that he possibly has thought about, and in order for this to be Richard's world's largest airdrop, is the fact that these guys still got a bunch of free coins. People that were holding stuff on exchanges got free coins that the exchanges aren't letting them see. I think once some of these things get enough value and get enough action going, there are going to be a lot of people demanding that they get their coins. I know what happened with Coinbase back when the BTC and Bitcoin Cash fork happened. People bitched about it so much that they had to list it. They had to give people their free coins. Can you imagine if that happens, where enough people complain to Binance and to Coinbase and to Kraken and to Gemini that, hey, I want my coins. You got to list them. Well, there's your free listing, man. And I'm sure Richard's thought about this stuff, because there were a lot that probably were sitting on exchanges that people are going to find out about, and they're going to want them. So I'm sure, again, he's a forward thinker. He plans things out. He maps it all out. I'm sure this is one of the things that he thought about as far as possibly getting free listings and allowing people to get credit for their stuff if it has the value to do it. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm anxious to see how it plays out. Again, I want it to take some time. I want the Jeets to Jeet, and I want the believers to stick around and be the ones that do it. You know, we then go back to that sudden wealth syndrome. You know how people get, man, when they win the lottery. How many of them go bankrupt? How many of them die? How many of them end up in debt after that? Because they,
DAI.
well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to kind of look out for people at the same time, even though, you know, you kind of created it to make, he wants to make 1 million millionaires. This is another method of his madness, I think, to do it. But again, you don't want the sudden wealth. You want people to kind of organically grow, to get used to being wealthy on paper, at least before you actually get the wealth in your pocket. So yeah, just a lot of interesting things, a lot of ways to look at this. I can see so many angles from people, and it's just it's gonna be fun.
Well, it definitely is, you know, as far as we can see, the most interesting thing that's happening in crypto this cycle so far. I mean, like outside of this, what is it? Probably like the meme coin takeover that generally is happening of the ones that are actually sticky communities and stuff like that, regardless of chain, even though Solana pretty much has no stickiness on it really. But of as far as narratives and things like this happening, assuming that this comes to pass in really any form, it's insane. And I want to say I agree with you 100% on the, and I disagree with the leader of our pool right now. And I understand where these people are coming from, where 51% are saying like that the peg should happen quickly to get the chain, you know, hypothetically, what they're thinking would be to get the chain to grow faster. I'm not really sure that that's what would happen though. And then for the option to do it slowly to capitalize at the end of the bull market, which is coming in second at 36%. I mean, here's another thing to think of there. Like you were talking about getting the Jeets out of the way, which they're definitely going to be more of right now. I mean, we still have Pedi at not even 3 cents. It's been at 3 cents. It's more when you're getting like we cross 10 cents, you get to a quarter, 50 cents. I mean, that's when there's going to be, you know,
Mhm.
tons of believers, obviously, at that point. But I feel like you just said it, you talked about Richard Hart and delaying gratification. Why wouldn't you do that with this one as well? You want it to be and look organic as it can possibly be. Um, it's the same thing with like PulseX being janky early on and the Block Explorer being shit and introducing things along the way. You want to capitalize as it is easier to capitalize on the market and where things are starting to move up. But also talk about this. I want to get your take on this. Speaking of EHEX and last cycle again, you know, people might be thinking like, well, what would be the advantage of it pegging late in 2025 or even mid 2025 when we've got only months left in the bull market? Well, keep in mind that hockey stick idea, like it's exponential growth as the bull market goes on. So like retail will be coming in droves as 2025 goes on and on. I mean, think about yourselves out there, you guys watching, that got in at the end of 2021. When did you buy? Like in the last window, like you literally got into crypto. You know, if it was Hex, you probably did it in September of 2021. You know, that's what many people have done. Lots of people bought over 40 cents. I mean, that's what happened. So why not have it maybe come together as early as next summer, to next fall, and then you introduce all of the maybe not all of, but a whole bunch of PRC20 and ERC20 liquidity pairs that people can do, and a whole bunch of stable yields that people can do. Where they're at that point, we got Ink at well over $80 again or something like that, and the yields are just insane. And that's when, like I've said, this DeFi utopia starts to really come to pass on PulseChain at that time.
Yep.
What do you make of that idea, Ewok? Because yeah, it might seem to us who have been here this entire time, suffering through all this, watching this chain for a year and a half at this point now, it might seem like, well, why the hell would you not do it until, say, you know, July, August of 2025 when the run's practically over? Well, to capitalize on the amount of people that are going to be in crypto at that time and all are going to rush in. And keep in mind also, it's not just that you're necessarily trapping those people at the top of the market. It's also that a lot of these vehicles being built and with what's going on with the stable coins is meant to keep people here in the bear market, to keep
Exactly.
better yields with the stable coins. We already see the stable coin swap stuff on PulseX. I mean, it's to build out that infrastructure. And like I keep saying, because I like the term, the DeFi utopia, you have people and resources here in the bear market. So it isn't just like, oh, it's a scam industry. It's all going to zero every single 3.5 years or something like that. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but yeah, talk about all those ideas, doing it later in the bull market to, again, not just get retail in here when they're here, but keep them because of the products that may be here at that time.
Well, I think you nailed it on the head, and that's the reason. I mean, look back at what Richard did. He built Hex. He watched it 10,000x in 630 days. He then said, "Oh, we got something. We got to fix something." What did he do? He had a sacrifice. How much of that was Hex? A crazy amount of it was Hex. Guess what? That kept all those people in the ecosystem. Now you're going to build something, and if it's him, you've got all of this economic energy. And I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been on the stream last night with Sami and
The
Saint Wolf and Maddie and all those guys were talking. But what would you do if Richard created a wallet and had a sacrifice where he only allowed Pedi as the sacrifice token to reclaim a lot of that value as for the sacrifice? There's that. There is also building it and allowing people to, my meaning of that was Richard has always found a way to keep people here. You want to keep people interactive. You want to keep them in the ecosystem. You don't want them popping in, bridging some money over, making a bunch and bridging it back out and extracting value. The idea is to grow it, to build the core value of the whole chain. And that only happens over time. But in order to do that, you've got to find enticing ways to keep people here. Again, if we reach the top area where people are taking profits, and by then it has pegged, and it's, I mean, how risky is it at that point for people? Are they going to believe in it? Is it going to stay pegged, or where are we at? That's my only thought of having to do it a little bit earlier than obviously as the cycle kind of rolls over and heads the other way. You want a stable coin for people to get into that stays in the network. And then you want to provide them with your stable farm yield. You want to provide them ways to make money and stay here rather than exit. That's the perfect solution to keep the value, to build the value. And then you just kind of rinse and repeat next cycle. Every cycle, it's something different, right? You're coming up with these different things to get people in. And I don't want to say trap them, because trap is a bad word. But it does retain the money. It retains the people. It retains the engagement of the community. And it just keeps growing. So I like the idea of, if there were another sacrifice, I think people are kind of sacrificed out. I think they've got a bad taste in their mouth about the sacrifice, because, as we all know, people that get in probably get a worse value than if they just wait and buy the tokens at the dip or at the lows or whatever it may be. So not a big fan of that, but there's got to be a way to trap people and keep the value here on this side. So you've got to create certain things. And I do think those liquidity pools, stable coin pools, we know there's the one on PulseX now that has great yield for stable coins and absolutely zero impermanent loss or risk of it. You can't park your money anywhere and get a better return. So obviously now is not the time to be doing that. Although I have been playing around with a very small amount just to see how it works, because I want to be ready when that time comes to be able to use it and know what to do. So yeah, I mean, I would like to see mid-cycle ish something happening in the way of, I think once it gets to the 50 to 75 cents, you're going to see more people jumping on it.
Oh yeah.
And you will definitely have more buyers than you have now at 3 cents. 3 cents, it seems like a pipe dream. At 70 cents, 60 cents, it's like there's something here.
Yeah, I mean, 70 cents is almost like something depegging. You know what I mean? Like we saw USDC
right,
and stuff
I
like
think it went down
tethered.
to like 83 or something.
Right.
But yes,
Right.
so yeah, I think at that point people are looking to scoop it back up. And I think Richard made a fantastic buy when that whole Pedi depegged. I forget how much the wallets made just by snatching that
The
up, and
arbitrage, yeah.
yeah, the arbitrage opportunity of buying more at that point. So yeah, again, I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see some. Do we see the single-sided staking? I don't know if we'll see that or not. But I think you're going to see some other mechanisms that come into play. Some definite liquidity opportunity. It's a bad time to. Well, I guess when things are headed down, you get more of the coin and less of the stable.
Right.
So it's a touchy situation of providing liquidity during those times, unless you're going to put it in, leave it in as the up and downs happen. If you're not going to pull it out, then it's fine. It all works out. It's a wash in the end. But yeah, but again, I think ideas like that, though, he's thought ahead. I'm sure he's planned ahead on different ways to keep the people here, to keep the funds here, and the value proposition on chain. So pretty cool.
I'm with you 100%. And I do think, I will say, I disagree a little bit on the sacrifice thing, because I think that we're forgetting at, the tops of bull markets, like just how confident people are in, hey, screw you, hell yeah, I'll throw in. I mean, look how good these investments are doing. I'll just throw it. Now we're living in a post-sacrifice world where we know what happened with Pulse and more so PulseX and all these other projects that have gone to hell, really,
Right.
that also did that. They're not affiliated with Richard Hart, that have done their own sacrifices. But I do think people will still be willing to do that. And keep in mind, I mean, there was also people out there like you and I, Ewok, that, I mean, I just know because I know what we both did, but that were more conservative with what they threw into the sacrifice. I mean, there's many people out there that made stupid decisions from the get-go. And when, it dipped far below sacrifice, like 90% below in PulseX's case, you feel that and it hurts pretty bad. I mean, if you only do what you can, I don't want to say what you can afford to lose, but like just an amount where you're like, hey, I know what could happen here, but in the instance that this thing does come out of the gate and do okay price wise, I just want to have a little bit of exposure. I think that's how people should treat it, moving forward. But people are people also. So yeah, I just think if this thing, if it is drug out over the year 2025 and all those products we're talking about and liquidity positions and stuff that people could get in, I think we could be living in a world that is unrecognizable to what we see in PulseChain right now 1 year from now, So, yeah.
Yeah, Hex Girl says she would sacrifice if this bull market's as good as she thinks it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, as long as it's, it'd be money that I wouldn't over leverage myself. And that's the problem. That's what too many people did the last time around. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
Well, there you go. There's a good big old heaping dose of Pedi stuff. It's very interesting. I think that people that are really dug in on one side or the other, I mean, I'm really only speaking, I guess, to the people that are like I don't want to say in denial because we don't know whole truths, but the people out there that are victory lapping it at every turn, shitting on decentralized me and stuff like that. I think for most of those people, it's just not that great of a look, and it seems like they're just engagement farming, really. Now, don't get me wrong, there's probably people on the Pedi side too that are just, I don't think this is at all the case with Decentralize Me or 9iron Capital. That's the reason they're talked about so much, is because they seem, pretty much like they're just calling shots as they see it on the blockchain and are apologetic when they've messed stuff up. I mean, they have been. So the people that are combating that and constantly shitting on Pedi and trying to victory lap it, I think they're just trying to get attention, really. So anyway.
Do you know the answer to this question?
What is the total supply of DAI on Ethereum? Could RH just collateralize DAI with DAI if he owned 80% of the supply? I don't know the supply of DAI on Ethereum. I do know that it's quickly becoming USDS, which is another topic that we might have to save for another week. They're rebranding all that, but the RH collateralization thing is one of the most interesting points, because that's one of the things that you are kind of doubtful of, Ewok, and like what he would need to use to do that, because DAI is backed by crypto. And I think he has some other mechanisms in place. It was over my head, but I know there was a huge tweet about some stuff that he's doing with Maker the other day that would eliminate the need for him to use, Hex and some portions of Pulse or PulseX as collateralization. So I think there are other tricks there for collateralization.
Circulating supply is shown as 5.36 billion DAI. So to answer the question, I don't think he could collateralize it with DAI. He
I don't
doesn't
think
own
you could
that much DAI.
Yeah.
It would take, so Viper Styles, I think one of the original things was people thinking that maybe rather than pump the ecosystem, Richard may use, or the OA may use the ETH gains to do something with this. And your next question, why does Pedi have 24 billion? Well, you remember a lot of the tokens that got copied got a 10,000 to 1 ratio because of the 1 to 10,000 ratio of ETH to Pulse. So in order to balance things out, I think a lot of things were multiplied by 10,000. So I think that calculation, the automatic market maker bot that harvested a lot of things, there was a lot of weird play. So yeah, so a lot of the ratios had to be balanced out to equal the difference from the Ethereum price to the PulseChain price being that low. It was like 1/10,000th of the total value. So most things had to be multiplied by 10,000 in order to balance them out. So, but again, total supply would, yeah. I'm not certain that it works that way with everything, but I think there were things that had to adjust the ratios. I don't know if they were all 10,000 to 1 or what they were, but that's why that bot had to run for like 2 days, harvesting information, harvesting liquidity pools and things like that to balance it out, to buy up certain things. It was a ton of very, very intricate calculations that were being done. So,
well, either way, I do think there are, some additional plans up somebody's sleeve to do the collateralization here that we may not totally know of. So it's hard to roll anything out at this point with the PDI stuff. So we'll continue to monitor it, obviously. We have a couple other, one of these I want to push the impermanent loss calculator thing, Ewok, because I'd like to really spend time on that. And that's something we could do, I think, any week, honestly.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and real quick, we'll just cover this since we're talking about the DAI thing. So MakerDAO, and now we're talking about the Ethereum DAI. We are not talking about PDAI here. We're talking about the classic DAI on Ethereum. MakerDAO is now rebranding, and this actually is old news, but some new points of the news are coming out now. But it's rebranding to some shit called Sky now instead of MakerDAI, and renaming DAI to USDS on Ethereum. This is unfortunate because they're basically ruining everything that DAI had stood for. I mean, it was unique in its terms of being a stable coin before. Now it's really going to be pretty similar to just like your USDCs and stuff like that, because now there's actually the ability to blacklist it like USDC, really ruining it completely. I mean, or at least, turning it into USDC when DAI would have been the preferred option on Ethereum. So it sucks because there's just more scam regulation stuff being integrated into crypto. But on the bright side, Ewok, I want to ask you, and I know you don't know all the inner workings of like when this is going to happen, when the rebranding takes place, but either way, it is that censorship and integrating, basically integrating people's ability to infringe upon you using a stablecoin now with DAI on Ethereum. But how much does this push the need for Pedi and a decentralized stablecoin being on PulseChain or existing anywhere at all, really? Because it's just funny that this is all happening right now when we have this organic growth of one happening on PulseChain, and we've got DAI rebranding to USDS and becoming, more of a centralized stablecoin on Ethereum. So what do you make of this news? I mean, it's a real shame because DAI has always been like the way to go as far. I know a lot of people on board with USDC, and that's fine. But in terms of holding one of them like long term, if you needed to, or holding a stable, DAI definitely would have been the preferred option. I don't know that that's true anymore. So yeah, what do you make of that, and how that could affect Pedi and everything that we have growing on PulseChain?
So I also heard last night that this rebranding of Sky and things like that is almost going to be a fork. Now, don't take this with 100% certainty. I'm pretty sure what I heard is the Sky protocol will be a fork of the MakerDAO, which adds in all of this other stuff. The MakerDAO as it is will continue to work in the DeFi space as it is. The reason the Sky USDS thing is being created was for bigger market participants, such as your BlackRock, such as your ETF, things like that, where they can use the larger funds. And that's, I think, why they wanted access to be able to turn it off and turn it on. Again, I'm not advocating for that at all,
Right.
because I don't think anybody should be able to turn off any bank account or anything like that just because they want to, just because you sent money to someone that they didn't like, or spent money somewhere, or sent it to Tornado Cash and they said, nah, we don't want the privacy, you're done. We don't want that, obviously. So again, I think I heard Axis say something about it's a fork. And if he's in the chat, maybe he can correct me, but this will be for the larger scale onboarding of the ETFs, of the bigger entities, for using this type of stable coin. So again, it does lead me to say, yes, all the more reason why we need a DeFi one that is not controlled by any on-off switches. Again, Richard has talked about it before. Even the forked USDC that is on PulseChain can be flipped off. But if they wanted to invalidate those tokens, they could. Circle could easily come in and just say, nope, these aren't valid at all. Now, would people be pissed off? Yes.
Yeah.
Could they make a stink about it and make them do it the other way? If enough people got together, probably so. But again, that's why DAI was so important, is because it was backed by Bitcoin and Ethereum and USDC and Tether, and US. So there were many things that would back it, and not just one central authority on-off switch. And that's why DAI was definitely, favored over some of these other ones. So yes, I think the importance of it all, for a decentralized finance thing, you've got to have that. You've got to have a smart contract running and working, and not an intermediary that can turn things off and on when they feel like it. So yes, again, I don't know much about the Sky thing. I just from what, like I said, what I heard, this is going to be for the bigger institutions and things like that want to use it. But as far as I know, DAI will still work. You can't just remove it, right? It's not something they can't just have like a mandatory buyback, because not everybody will be like, I don't want to play that game.
Right. Right.
So it will still continue to function and work as it is. Just the new protocol is called this, and it will be based on that, but different. So
Yeah.
Hope that was right. And again, just I'm gonna have to do a little more research on it I didn't get a chance to look into it too much, but that's what I gathered anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll continue to look into it as well if it is just a fork, but either way, not something that people are going to want to use, obviously, with the USDS. So let's go ahead and wrap up with this. Just a fun little topic, the Pulse Tube bubbles, which is pretty interesting. If you wanted to pull up that
Yeah.
Ewok, I don't even know who created that, but just another way to kind of show this ecosystem, show PulseChain, show all the content creators that there are. It's pretty sweet. It's list. I think like probably all of the. I think there's an algorithm and it's done by AI that like anytime the amount of times people mention maybe Hex or PulseChain or whatever, I really don't know. I haven't looked that much into it, but it shows all sorts of different PulseChain channels and stuff like that, and shows them in a bubble style, much like the crypto banter bubbles and stuff like that. So here's the video you got on your screen right now of a whole bunch. There's Benjamin Cohen, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, so what does it actually say up there on the tweet? Because it describes how it's actually used, I think, or how it. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
It says a quick preview of searching for Hex. Here you can see we filter by channel and easily skip to the search term within each video. Even have multiple videos playing. AI analysis also being displayed for the videos. More search features are in the works. So I don't know if you remember this or not, but there is a website called hexsearch.io. And what that would do is go through any Richard Hart video. It's a pretty cool tool, actually. But hexsearch.io, and all you had to do was type in a phrase or a term or whatever it was, and it would go through all of Richard's videos and pick that out. It would show you all the videos that mentioned whatever it is you're looking for. Pretty cool thing. So they're integrating that into this now for all of the streamers that are listed on PulseTube. Pretty cool. Very cool. Actually, Creative Crypto is on there. I don't know. I saw our logo several times as they were,
Yep.
floating around. I think if we start the video over, oops, I need to do it from here. If we start it over from here, where did I see Creative Crypto? I know we
I know
were
I've
in
seen
there.
us in there before. I don't know if it was actually on this video
There,
or
right here.
oh, there you go.
Here,
There we
yep,
are.
right here. So we're in the mix, and again, we appreciate PulseTube for listing our channel. They've done some pretty cool things, but this AI tool is going to be very cool to go back and search. Say, I remember seeing someone talk about it, and all you really have to do is put a phrase in, and it'll go through all the videos that mention that term or what you're looking for, and find it for you and show the videos right at that spot. So pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah, that is very cool. Just a cool visual for everybody to see, and really highlights just like how many people are out there talking about this. And some of those aren't even anything like some of those aren't even PulseChain channels or anything like that from the
Right,
looks of it.
right.
So, yeah, very cool to see. And man, it's just going to be crazy to see like this ecosystem grow, not only in the amount of people that are on it and the amount of, where the price goes and talking about like where Pedi could go and the liquidity pools, but also just the more and more people you might see popping up making content. Like we talked about Shill Gates and stuff on Twitter, talking about it so frequently now. You're going to see, as we've seen over this last 3 or 4 years, us included, you're going to see births of like new channels, new people creating content, people that, like, there are people that are gone from last cycle that were pretty much Hex only and stuff like that. Now you've got people that are talking about the whole ecosystem. Then you have people offshooting of that are the Pedi people and the Tang Gang and stuff like that, which, you're going to see more and more of that, I think, as we get into next year. So,
Yeah.
yeah, strongest
Um,
community in crypto for sure, bar none.
Couple things.
Go ahead.
Greylock, I'm not sure. This Willow chip, apparently, what is it, the quantum chip or whatever?
Mhm.
If it ruins Hex, it's going to ruin Bitcoin. It's going to ruin
Right.
everything. Yes, the Hex code is immutable, so it can't be changed at all. But I think the problem with the Willow chip is that it was able to hack into and figure out seed phrases. And if that's the case, everyone's security is kind of blown out of the water. So it's not going to be a problem with a threat to Hex. It's a threat to all of crypto, I think. So I just wanted to address that question. It's not Hex specific. It's a major problem if it can do the things they say it can. So I wouldn't worry about it. If it's going to implode everything, if it happens that way.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, I think that a lot more would be in trouble than just hex stakes there. So,
And do we have time for one more question?
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Gary Rutherford asked the option for limit orders, which is a good thing. We will probably be covering this down the road, especially as we get closer, because obviously we want people to use limit orders to sell. It helps not hurt the price. It's a much better way to do it. There are ways to do limit orders. What was the newer protocol that was being built? Tetra.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So Tetra will have them. I know
I think they may already. I don't know. I thought they already
Yes,
did, but
yes, they do. There is also single-sided staking on 9mm. 9-inch, I believe, also has single-sided staking, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe.
And Pateus said they were actually working on it. They will have single-sided limit orders coming soon. So I know that is not, or it's in development now. It's not ready quite yet. But yes, there are several out there that have it. So we will definitely be covering that as ways to take some profits safely without taking slippage. I know we've talked about a few other ways by using the protocols that are out there to leverage your prices and take a loan and get the stable coin for it. And then if it happens to liquidate, it happens to liquidate. If it happens to go up, you take more. And you keep taking more and keeping it at like a 10% ratio. And that way you don't have to continue to place more orders. You just kind of grab and grab and grab. And I think it's going to be one of the best ways to do it, so that when you approach the top, you can extract as much as you possibly can from one order. Pretty neat. So, but yeah, we'll be talking about that as well. I believe PHUX, yes, I believe that one also will offer it as well. So lots of good stuff. And yeah, we'll probably be able to do almost an entire episode on different ways to do that and all the different offers that all these sites have.
Yeah, as the bull market rages on, I mean, there's going to be just so many of these options over different landscapes and stuff that we can get into, talk about our favorite ways of doing it and all that kind of stuff. We also did have planned tonight. I really want to give it its due. So we talked about so much that I wanted to push it tonight, but for those of you that are liquidity providing and the PulseX pool, really any pool, but primarily that one, because that is the most common one. If you're holding those two tokens, you're holding them anyway. So a lot of people are like, why not earn some yield on it with Ink as well? We're going to get into how to actually calculate your impermanent loss with that, because it is different and a lot better, obviously, than if you have impermanent loss with if you're doing like Pulse and DAI, or I'm just making stuff up, but anything with a stable coin, that you're going to have a lot more impermanent loss there, and it's usually not going to be worth it. Whereas the PulseX pool is far more conservative. And the reason I wanted to talk about it, and we wanted to talk about it tonight, is because I just heard some stuff over the last week about like, it could be dangerous, which, there are dangers to being in liquidity pools but if you understand the risks and know where your entry points are at, what your impermanent loss actually are, it's really not that dangerous. So we're going to get into a very easy way on how to calculate your impermanent loss, specifically in that pool that I want to give more time to. So any final thoughts tonight, Ewok?
No, man, I think we covered just about as much as we could. So
yeah, a lot of stuff tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. That's all right. We had a lot going on. So appreciate you guys being here. We got so much happening in this ecosystem. We'll continue to cover the Pedi saga. Got Christmas coming up here in the States. We're on the everywhere, I guess. We got a new year upon us, obviously 2025. Cannot wait. So thank you all, Hex Girl, Valiant Low Key, Viper Styles, Gary Rutherford, KD, Patrick Sastro, and stuff. Man, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. And a lot more of you guys. DJ Moonboy, of course. Take a break with Jake, Greylock, Yellowtail. Appreciate all you guys. We will be back next week, same time, same channel. We're probably going to have to do some scheduling swaps because Christmas Day falls on a Wednesday, as does New Year's Day. So we'll figure out how we do all that. But we will be back next week, 6:30, right here on the Creed of Crypto live stream. See you guys.
Peace out.